for our VC sir and Pro VC sir and DP VC madam to join. We are commencing the valedictory session shortly, sir. Please be patient. Please be bear with us. Good afternoon, everyone. It is an absolute honor for us to guide you through the valedictory session of this two-day international conference on marginality and sustainable development goals in the contemporary world literature. Over the past 2 days, we have engaged in enriching discussion, exchanged valuable insights, and deepened our understanding the role of literature in addressing global challenges.
To begin this special session, we would like to extend our warm welcome to all our esteemed delegates, distinguished speakers, and respected faculty members. We express our heartfelt gratitude for your active participation and valuable contribution.
Now, to formally open the valedictory session, we would like to invite Professor Dr. Ujjwal Jana, Professor in the Department of English, Faculty of Arts, University of Delhi, and our esteemed guest of honor to address the gathering. Please join us in welcoming him with a round of applause. Professor Dr. Ujjwal Jana is an eminent scholar with a distinguished academic background. He earned his PhD from the Indian Institute of Technology, Kharagpur in 2008. His expertise and dedication to the field of literary studies have been recognized internationally, as he was awarded the prestigious Fulbright Fellowship by the United States Indian Educational Foundation. With a rich teaching experience spanning over 2 decades, Professor Jana has held esteemed positions at institutions such as Pondicherry University, West Bengal State University, and Bajkul Milani Mahavidyalaya. His research interests are diverse, ranging from disability studies and literary representations to transcultural digital humanities. He has also played a pivotal role in multiple collaborative projects, including the Literature of Resistance, a comparative study of Dalit and anti-apartheid literature, and Indian-European entanglements, supported by the Ministry of Education, Government of India. Beyond academia, Professor Jana has significantly contributed to research, having supervised numerous PhD scholars and undertaken major research projects, including those funded by ICSSR and international organizations. His contributions to the field of comparative literature and digital humanities continue to shape contemporary literary discourse. It is indeed an honor to have him with us today. Once again, let's extend a warm welcome to Professor Dr. Ujjwal Jana.
Sorry, sir, you're not audible. I'm so sorry, sir, you're not audible. Give us a minute.
Am I audible now?
Yes, sir, pretty audible. Yeah.
Okay, just a minute. Okay, so am I audible now? Can you?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Perfect. Okay, so Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Pandey, Honorable Pro Vice Chancellor, Professor Chaturbedi, Honorable Pro Vice Chancellor, Professor Dave, and Dr. Shubhankar Roy, Head of the Department, Amity School of Languages, Amity University, Chhattisgarh, faculty members, scholars and students. A warm good afternoon to everybody. I'm extremely honored and privileged to have been invited to the valedictory session of this two-day international conference on marginality, sustainable developments, goals in contemporary world literatures. As I was looking at the title of the conference, there are a couple of terms: marginality, sustainable developments, and world literatures. Now the question is that as far as English studies, so basically what I am going to do is that in the next 10 to 15 minutes, I'm going to address a couple of questions in connection with the viability of English studies in India. So when we talk about English studies in India, or maybe the future of English studies in India, some of the questions that I would like to address is like that. What is the future of English studies in India? And we are standing at a crucial juncture, standing in 2025, 2024-25, we are at a very crucial stage. We are at crossroads, and the future of English studies in India, the challenges, the possibilities, what are they? Now, when we think of, as I was trying to figure out the conference title, Marginalities, Sustainable Developments, development goals and the world literatures, apparently it looks like it has nothing to do with the English studies, because marginality, if you look at this particular component, it basically it belongs to the discipline of subaltern studies. When you move on to the second section of the title, component of the title, sustainable development goals, it has nothing to do with, apparently it has nothing to do with English literary studies or the canonical English literary studies. Rather, this particular terminology is being used more in the field of management, in economics, and in other disciplines. And when you move on to the last part of the world literatures, again, as you know, this is a part of global literary discourse. We are not talking about world literature, world English literature, world literatures. Now, what does it mean for us? Standing at a crucial time, what does it mean for us? Where are we moving towards? Are we really practicing English studies or literary studies, or what we generally call canonical studies? Now, when we think of the status of English literary studies in India, when I was planning to deliver a talk on this particular subject, immediately I was reminded of a very eminent critic of the contemporary time, James F. English, who is a professor of English at Pennsylvania University, and who is also the founding director of Price Lab of Digital Humanities. He made a very significant comment in this particular context. I quote him: "The future expansion of English studies," I'm repeating, "the future expansion of English studies will mostly occur outside the disciplines traditional Anglophone and European base." So this particular statement is very, very significant in the contemporary context. And when we think of the study of literature, the study of language within the broad field of English literary studies or Anglophone literary studies, we have to take into consideration a couple of things, because the development of the curriculum, the pedagogical practices, the research, the employment opportunities, the aspirations, the expectations of the learners who are getting enrolled in the higher educational institutions. So when we think of English literary studies, does it mean we need to stick to the canonical literary studies, I mean the British literary studies, or do we need to take into consideration the national literatures from across the globe, which have already got its place in the English literature departments? We are teaching Russian literatures, we are teaching French literatures, we are teaching Plato, Aristotle, Longinus, and many more things which talk about the diversity of the literatures or the cultural or the literary trends, which are also from different linguistic and cultural practices. Now, as I was thinking about that, what lies ahead with us? I mean, as far as English literary studies are concerned, as you know, we started basically the introduction of English literary studies started in India with the introduction of colonialism. And I'm sure all of us have been aware of Gauri Vishwanathan's 2015 classic work, Marks of Conquests, literary trends, literary study and British rule in India, in which Gauri Vishwanathan had talked about how the British administration had started English education in India as part of these empire building processes. How English language was introduced in order to create, as you all know, the famous Macaulay's, that to create a class of people who will be conversant in English and who will be basically used for fulfilling their aspirations also. And then the question is that the imposition of the English or the introduction of the English as an imperial tongue and the corresponding literary texts basically facilitated the imperialist aspirations, and we all know what has happened in the colonial period. Then as we got independence in 1947, of course we started thinking about post-colonial literatures, and as you know, Anya Lumba, and there have been Edward Said, and there have been many other people who have talked about the impact of colonialism on the vernacular educations and on our literatures, on our cultures, on our civilizations. And they all had emphasized, post-colonial critics, they had emphasized the need for introducing something on our own. And so when we think of the development of a kind of curriculum, as I was trying to figure out what should be the challenges, what are the possibilities, what are the new directions of future English studies in India, a couple of things came to my mind. One is that, of course, the post-colonial issues have already been addressed, and to some extent we have, I mean, when we think of Indian context in particular, or the Asian context in general, as you know, English education, as I have already mentioned, English education basically within the Asian context also started in India, and it had spread over to other colonies and in different kind of discursive forms. And now when we think of English studies standing in 2025, we need to keep in mind a couple of things. One is, of course, the post-colonial issues, the globalization, the market economy, the cultural studies, and the new trends in humanities. And of course, when we think of globalizing Indian education, globalizing English studies in particular, then we need to keep it in mind the new significant developments which have taken place in the form of National Education Policy 2020. As we are aware that this new education policy has already been introduced at every levels, and Indian universities are basically negotiating and negotiating with these new challenges in developing curriculums, developing pedagogical practices, forming new research disciplines, and also thinking of how this new education policy can maybe globally competitive, maybe inclusive in nature, and also it can provide us world-class education. It can provide us multiple opportunities, innumerable avenues as far as English studies in India is concerned. Now, a couple of things I would like to just, I would like to address some of the challenges and some of the concerns. Himself being a part of some of the syllabus making committees, I was thinking, Jay, like how we are going to, how the new curriculum is going to be like. What would be the pedagogical practices? When we think of developing curriculum of the English literature departments in India, we have to take into consideration, these are some of my ideas that I would like to share it with you. So keeping in mind the National Education Policy 2020, the emphasis is on, as you know, one of the major thrusts areas are called, multilingualism. That means providing education in the mother tongues, in the vernaculars. Number one. Number two, Indian knowledge system. So when we think of Indian knowledge system as a broad field of study, it is also very, very important. And I think one of the major mandates of this particular, particular development is how we can, introduce Indic ways of thinking. As you all know, that India's knowledge traditions, India's intellectual traditions have been very profound, have been very rich, and there is not a single discipline in which India has not kind of excelled in, be it science, be it technology, be it Ayurveda, be it poetics, be it performing arts, be it metallurgy. Please mention any discipline in which ancient Indian, culture, ancient Indian, ancient Indian development has not taken place. So as far as English educations are concerned, why can't we introduce, Kalidasa? Why can't we introduce Vasa? Why can't we introduce Sudrok? Why can't we introduce Banabhatta along with the canonical writers? That is one of the things that we can do. Let our learners get to know about Indian culture. What has been the dramatic traditions in Indian context? Let the Natya Shastra be introduced, and let our scholars, let our students get to know what has been the dramatic traditions, what have been the performative traditions in Indian context. Along with that, let us also introduce, along with Aristotle and Plato, and the classical literary criticism from the West, let our students, let our learners get to know about the long traditional Indian literary theory, starting from Bharata's Natya Shastra and the different schools, whether it is Rasa school of theory, Rasa school, whether it is Dhoni, Alankara, Bakrokti school of theory. Let Indian students get to know Tolkappiyam. We have, as I have already mentioned, we have a very rich linguistic traditions. Let students get to know about our grammatical traditions in the form of Bhakkapadiya, Bhartrihari's Bhakkapadiya. Let students get to know the, as you know, Yaksha's Nirukta, which is an etymological theory. So this is something that I was thinking that, like, along with the canonical texts, English departments, we are also, as I already mentioned, we are at the crossroads. Along with the canonical writers, along with Shakespeare, along with Milton, along with T.S. Eliot, let others have a equitable place in the curriculum. And not only that, I was also thinking about the other kind of writers, because nowadays we are also talking about comparative literatures and world literatures also. Why can't we introduce, when we are teaching a course on literary theory, along with Plato, along with Aristotle, along with Longinus, along with Horace, let Indian critics be studied together. And not only that, why can't we draw ideas from the other literary and critical traditions? Say, for example, along with Indian poetics, why can't we teach Arabic poetics, Persian poetics, and also, like, poetics from Chinese poetics, Chinese literary theory, Japanese literary theory? Why can't we do that? That is one of the ways we think we can do that. And as far as literary studies are concerned, we can also teach not only the Indian classical authors, also the medieval authors. Let Rupa Goswami's critical text, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, have a place in the curriculum. We can also teach all our regional authors. Let Tagore has already got a place. Along with that, we need to have Premchand. We need to have regional writers from every part of India. And so whether it is Hindi, whether it is Punjabi, whether it is Rajasthani, Malayalam literatures, Tamil literatures, Telugu literatures, we can, all of them are available in translation studies and translations. So we can, provide them, kind of rightful place in the curriculum. And then there is one more thing, that there is a need for, as you know, not only multilingualism and also the vernacular tradition, there is a need for interdisciplinary mode of studies. So this is something very, very important. As higher education is trying to emphasize, this new education policy is aiming at inclusion. It is moving towards, like, inclusion, equitable distribution, and egalitarian space, and also employment oriented, skill based, technology oriented. So as far as critical approaches to literary studies are concerned, or I must say that critical turns in humanity studies are concerned, those things also need to be placed along with the canonical literatures. Like, as you all know, we have medieval literatures, Elizabethan literatures, 18th century, 19th century, Victorian period, Romantic period. We can also look at as I already mentioned, that many of the Indian institutions have gradually, kind of taking into consideration offering some of these courses, recent these critical humanities studies courses. Say, for example, already we have started including disability studies, blue humanities, medical humanities, refugee studies, performative studies, animal studies, and vulnerability studies. So there are multiple opportunities with the development of, as I already mentioned, from the 1990s onwards. There has been a significant, kind of significant move towards these cultural studies. So what I'm trying to talk about here is that, so we need to make a perfect balance between the canonical studies and canonical studies, taking into consideration both the British texts, as we mean, as well as texts from other literatures of the world. So as I have already mentioned, that world literatures must have a rightful place in the curriculum, and also Indian vernacular literatures, that also both the literary, both the creative texts as well as the critical texts must have its place in the curriculum. Now the question is that, see, there are two things. One is that when the English literature departments are going to be more accommodative, more kind of create a more kind of fusion between the traditional and the contemporary texts, we need to also think of, as you know, curriculum is one part. You need to develop a proper kind of curriculum in order to teach the pedagogical practices also. Now the question is that, are we really prepared? I mean, I'm talking about the faculty members. When you are introducing a course in an institution, in a department, are faculty members, are the teachers, are the mentors well equipped to develop right kind of pedagogies for teaching these kind of subjects? Because this traditional, as you all know, now we are into the digital era, and we need to kind of take into consideration the digital pedagogical practices. Have we been able to adopt the latest technological interventions into humanities studies? And also digital humanities is also emerging as one of the major interventions into literary studies, along with the disciplines which I have already mentioned. Now these are the things that, are we going to stick to the traditional pedagogical practices, or maybe are we going to adopt new technology based kind of pedagogical practices within the classrooms? We need to understand also what our students are expecting, because students of the present generation, they are very tech savvy, they are well read, and I'm sure they have a lot of potential. So this is one part of the teaching course. Now as far as research is concerned, are we creating the level playing field for the students to pursue research in interdisciplinary areas? Because universities are also higher educational institutions, and as you know, there has been greater emphasis on carrying out researches, not only research in the sense that guiding PhD scholars is one part of it, but at the same time faculty members also must be engaged with kind of international, national collaborative projects. I'm sure ICSSR, Indian Council of Historical Research, Indian Council of Cultural Research, and there have been many funding agencies by Government of India which are providing funds for sponsored research for the faculty members to carry out interdisciplinary researches. So these are the things. So teaching and the pedagogical part on the one hand, teaching students in the classroom, and on the other hand, faculty members must also be engaged with pursuing cutting edge research in the interdisciplinary fields. How we can, say for example, from my personal experience also, in the last couple of years, I have pursued a couple of international collaborative projects when I was trying to look at subalternity or marginality from the transcultural perspective. Say for example, how we can look at the theory of emotions, particularly the Rasa theory, from the affect studies, from the transcultural perspectives. How we can make use, say for example, what are the new directions in the consciousness studies or the neuroscience studies, okay, or the phenomenological studies, because how we can, this is something very, very important that we need to do, how philosophy can be integrated into literary studies, how we can make use of the discipline of phenomenology for studying the texts of Kalidasa, or how we can look at Kalidasa's texts from, or maybe Shakespeare's texts from the neurosciences perspectives. So what I'm trying to share with you is that both in terms of teaching and in terms of research, we need to be experimental, we need to embrace interdisciplinarity, and those days are gone that kind of Shakespeare as a romantic writer, or Shakespeare as a kind of Elizabethan playwright, or the representation of the supernatural in Shakespeare's plays, those days are gone. Now we need to develop new methodological tools, new critical approaches, how we can read Shakespeare from the gerontological perspectives, as you all know, how we can look at Shakespeare's texts from the astrological perspectives, and if possible, we can also make use of Indian theoretical tools, as I have already mentioned, how the Bauchitta theory or the Vakrokti theory of Indian schools of criticism can be successfully applied to the interpretation of the texts from the kind of Anglophone traditions. So I personally think that NEP 2020 or the new curriculum development that has, there is a wide scope for experimentation, and I'm sure it is a very holistic kind of thing in which we have scope for kind of integrating our knowledge system into the traditional components, and also multidisciplinarity. So multidisciplinarity, interdisciplinarity, and also there is one more thing, and then I will conclude that the NEP 2020 is also emphasizing that our pedagogical practice, our teachings must be very skill oriented. That means the present education must aim at making people equipped with skills. That means, and that is why there has been a greater emphasis on the communication. Many of the Indian universities are also including technical communication, business communication, which at one point of time were considered not a part of the canonical discourses. So language teaching, communication teaching, media studies, they are also making gradual interventions. How digital humanities, how the introduction of digital humanities as a subject can radically change the way we have been examining the traditional texts. Text encoding, this is TEI, or maybe the data visualization or geographical information system, how these kind of tools can be made use in order to study literary texts, the creative literatures. So this is because ultimately the purpose of the education is to make somebody kind of equipped with skills, achieve some kind of they must take away something from our classroom experiences. And when students are also pursuing research, they must be engaged not only with the qualitative but but also the quantitative. What is the empirical knowledge? And that is why if you look at the the quantum, if you look at the nature of the ICSSR ICSSR projects, which are also in different kind of fields, and basically social sciences oriented. So basically what we have to do is that humanities discipline can exist. The future of humanities studies can be kind of extended or maybe can be aligned with disciplines like social sciences, medical medical sciences, natural sciences, physical sciences. Otherwise I'm sure the future of humanities, not only in India, future of humanities, in particularly the future of English studies in India, will be at stake until and unless, as I have already mentioned, we embrace interdisciplinarity in terms of teaching, in terms of research. These are some of my ideas that I'll be concluding with. And we must make our research more, yes, theoretical research has to be pursued, qualitative research has to be pursued, but it must be outcome oriented. This is what I'm just going to share. That means our education, our studies must be practical in nature, must be pragmatic in nature, and it must have some empirical consequences. That means after completing masters, a student must be equipped to make use of his or her knowledge so that he can secure employment elsewhere. So these are the things that we have to take into consideration. He must know Shakespeare, but at the same time, he must know also digital humanities. He must also know neurosciences, how he or she can make use of his domain knowledge in making new advancement in literary studies. So the future is, I'm sure the future is very bright. It has got a lot of potential, this new education policy, but at the same time, we need to move ahead with a lot of caution, and at the same time, I think personally, lot of teacher training programs have to be organized, because I'm sure that Indian from my experiences of being a part of different some committees, I have been to different parts of the country as in my capacity as an administrator. I've seen what is the the bleak, the dismal situation of English studies in the colleges, in some of the colleges in the remotest corners of the country. See, it is, what is being taught at Delhi University or what is being taught at Mumbai University, or it doesn't reflect what is happening in other parts of the country. So we need, as I have already mentioned, the purpose of education, the purpose of the present English studies. It must be inclusive, it must be multidisciplinary, it must reach out to everybody, and teachers have a big role to play. They must be equipped with the skills, they must upgrade themselves with the new technological interventions. I'm sure until and unless a teacher is or a mentor is equipped with the skills, equipped with the new research, cutting edge research or interdisciplinary research, how are you going to impart new knowledge to the learners who are getting enrolled to our education institutions, who have who, as I have already mentioned, they are very tech savvy, they have a lot of kind of potential, and they are here to learn something new. And so with this note, I conclude here, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your enlightening words and sharing your valuable insights. All right. Moving forward, we now invite the convener, Professor Dr. Subhankar Roy, Head in Charge, MET School of Languages, MET University, Chhattisgarh, to present the report on International Conference and Technical Session. Let's give him a warm welcome.
Yes. Good afternoon to one and all present over here. With the blessings of our Honorable Founder President, Dr. Ashok Chauhan Sir, Honorable Chairman, Dr. Ashim Chauhan Sir, Honorable Chancellor, Dr. W. Selvamurthy Sir, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. Piyush Kant Pandey Sir, Honorable Pro-Vice Chancellor Sir, Professor Dr. Saurabh Chaturvedi, and respected Deputy Pro-Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. Sumita Dave Madam, and respected Registrar, Dr. Suresh Dhyani Sir, Amity School of Languages has been able to organize and tom-tom in a seamless manner a two-day international conference titled Marginality and Sustainable Development Goals in Contemporary World Literature, Voices, Visions, and Transformations. It is a matter of great coincidence that today happens to be the International Forest Day, and we are concluding this event after fruitful deliberations to safeguard our environment. In this conference, total 158 participants from every corner of India, apart from a few international participants from different parts of the world, attended the event, out of which almost 140 presented their papers. In the inaugural program, the theme was introduced by the convener of the conference, and next the welcome address was given by Professor Dr. Saurabh Chaturvedi sir, Honorable Provisy, followed by keynote address of Dr. Mara Mills, Associate Professor and PhD Director, New York University, who talked extensively on the notion of disability with reference to marginality and dilated on giving preponderance to address this underrated segment of the society plaguing the nation. Then Professor Dr. L.S. Gaspal from Pandit Ravi Shankar University, Shukla University, addressed the gathering as a special guest, highlighted the indigeneity of the topic by giving reference to Indian knowledge system and Saint Kabir's dohas, exemplifying the existence of marginality since time immemorial and the avenues to address it. Next, Professor Dr. Piyush Kant Pandey, our Honorable VC Sir, delivered his presidential address where Sir categorically vindicated the fact that marginality does not have any single compartment. Rather, while in the mainstream, a person can also be a marginal by giving reference to a community in Germany. It was followed by vote of thanks of Dr. Mohammed Islam, co-convener of the event. In the first day, there are 5 parallel sessions, each in 2 halves, where 65 participants presented their papers. All aspects of SDGs with reference to marginality have been covered in this conference. The first parallel sessions were chaired by Professor Sanghamitra Shil Acharya from JNU, dealing with resistance literature, followed by a brief deliberation on the importance of the topic. Then Dr. Shamrat Sengupta, Associate Professor of Sidhu Kanu Birsa University, dilated on the multiplicity of gender perspectives with reference to marginality. Then Dr. Anil Maji from NIT Raipur, who inter alia predominantly dealt with eco-disaster and the notion of subalternity as a tool of empowerment and identity formation. Then Dr. Chinmoy Nanda from XIM University deliberated on the exploitation of the Dalits and expatiated on different facets of marginality. Then Professor Dr. Himadri Shekhar Roy from Shahjalal University, Bangladesh, made a foray into autobiography and identity in literary representations of marginality. In the second half, the parallel sessions were chaired by Dr. P. Panda from IIT Bhubaneswar, critiquing on indigeneity and formation of identity. Then Dr. C.S. Nijamuddin from Central University of Gujarat discussed inter alia, environmental justice and subjugation of women. Then Dr. Antarlina Basu chaired the session where the presenters explored the vulnerable classes of the society. Then Dr. Govindaya Godavarti from Maulana Azad National Urdu University chaired the session and shed light on feminism and the voices of resilience with reference to marginality. Then Professor Dr. Himadri Lahiri from Netaji Subhash Open University and explored in a discursive method the SDG 5 with reference to marginality. And in the penultimate day, there are 5 parallel sessions each in 2 halves where more than 70 participants presented their papers. The first parallel sessions were chaired by Dr. Someshwar Swati, Professor, Department of English, Kirori Mal College, University of Delhi, deliberating extensively on cultural locations of disability and tropes of marginalization, gender and disability, etc. Then Dr. Abu Saleh, Assistant Professor at the P.R.E. Mohan College, University of Calcutta, excavated transgender marginalization, contemporary narratives of violence, and challenging masculine stereotypes in the Indian landscape. Then Professor Dr. Sushil Kumar Sharma, head, University of Allahabad, made discursive discourse on heteronormativity, canine guardians, and environmental justice, disability, post-humanism with reference to urbanity enshrined in SDG 11. Then Mr. Shukhendu Das from Bankura University chaired the session where the presenters made their foray into cartographies of exclusion and resistance, voices from the margins, disability, marginalization, and resistance. Then Dr. Bapin Malik from Dr. B.R. Ambedkar College, Kalyan University, deliberated inter alia, disability as otherness in Black communities, literary portrayals of economic inequality and poverty in marginalized communities. In the second half, The parallel sessions were chaired by Dr. Subrata Kumar Das from Lolit Narayan Mithil University, Darbhanga, critically negotiating on echoes of exile, migration, displacement, and marginalization, literature as a catalyst for advocacy on disability and gender inclusion. Then Dr. Debojyoti Das from ASL chaired the session and deliberated inter alia the role of literature in shaping the marginalized communities, challenging social stereotypes, biases and oppression, invisible disabilities, and societal negligence. Then Dr. Suparna Karkun from ASL chaired the session and negotiated inter alia cross-media representations of marginalized communities in literature, film and art, regional and cultural variations in depictions of marginalized communities. Then Dr. Pratyushandan Pari from Amity School of Languages chaired the session and critically vindicated representations of subaltern women between borders, migration, marginality, and the Sustainable Development Goals, challenging stereotypes, the role of Indian literature in social transformation, etc., to safeguard our environment from imminent extinction. With that, I conclude my report on what happened in the 2 days. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir, for summarizing the key highlights of our enriching sessions. Now we move on to a special segment. We shall be delighted to hear the experience of our participants. We invite our esteemed participants to share their thoughts and experience from this conference. So the participants who are online, kindly raise your hand. We will unmute ourselves from our side and please share your experience. We are really waiting.
All right, then. So let's move forward. So due to some emergency, Professor Dr. Piyush Kant Pandey, Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, is not present in the conference. So let's move forward.
So now it's our privilege to Dr. Saurabh Chaturvedi, sir, our respected and honorable Pro Vice Chancellor, Amity University, Chhattisgarh, to address the gathering. A big round of applause for him.
Thank you very much. In fact, it's a real pleasure for me to be here and to address this valedictory session of this wonderful conference which is organized here. It was participated by many good number of participants across the globe. And we have seen that there are wonderful number of participants who have been presenting also this conference. The contributions and the addresses made by the experts from New York to India, from IITs to all other institutions was very encouraging. I'm sure the entire grace goes to the convener of the institution and also to the dear faculty members of this institution. On behalf of Amity University, on behalf of the administration, and on behalf of Honorable Vice Chancellor, I want to say thanks to the organizing committee for organizing this beautiful program. I was just now, I was hearing Professor Jena, and he was talking very specific on interchangeable dimensions of literature, when we can see that the word is shrinking very fast. The word is converting into many faces, new aspects are coming to, and we have seen that the law, the literature, the culture, the people, the faces, the approaches, these many things are many times helping us out to develop, and many times trying to give us a very new aspect of understanding. In my understanding, the world is so dynamic. People are changing, culture is changing, society is changing, approaches are changing. We keep on changing. The literature cannot keep itself aloof and cannot keep that self apart from any changes. So the changes which are coming, which are imminent, are very much visible on the literature, on the language. In my experience, when I have been roaming to many places in India and abroad, I have seen that my language, my way of expression is also changing. I have included many words coming from Hindi to Urdu, Urdu to English, English to Swahili, which is being spoken in Africa, and many other words which I have been incorporating from here and there. And with this new development and addressing the new generation Z, we have seen that this generation Gen Z, is using the words, using the communication in a very new manner. They are not only addressing themselves, they are reducing their efforts, going to the purity of the language. Many times they are including many things. The target is that how they can express themselves and to address others. It is a huge subject, but I must congratulate the team for compiling so many things, so many thoughts, so many ways at a single place, and to bring all them on a single platform. All my best wishes to the department, to the convener, to the organizers, and to the students who have been benefited with that wonderful conference. All my best wishes to you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your encouraging words. All right. So now it's our pleasure to invite Professor Dr. Sumita Dave, respected Deputy Pro Vice Chancellor, Ma'am, Dean Faculty of Management and Commerce, Director of MIT Business School, MIT University, Chhattisgarh, Raipur, to deliver the closing remarks. Let's welcome her with a big round of applause.
Thank you so much. It's first, I'd like to thank and appreciate and congratulate the organizers for having organized such a wonderful 2 days conference, which was very well received, not only in India and abroad. And more importantly, that they have touched upon such a wonderful topic that is relating to completely different areas. One is marginality, and the other is sustainability, the sustainable development goals. And of course, the bridging element being literature. Literature has always been such a wonderful medium of a reflection of the thoughts of the people and the needs of the society at large. I am not a person of literature, but as Professor Jana said, that this is an area which relates to economics and business. Sir, this relates to everybody, I think. And when we talk of literature, whether it has been historically, whether it is Ruskin Bond or whether it is Robert Frost, I think all have emphasized directly or indirectly on preserving and conserving nature. which is basically the basic crux and the urgent problem that needs to be addressed by the world at large. And literature, I think, is one of the very, very powerful medium by which this problem can be addressed to. Congratulations once again to all the participants, the organizers, and of course, all the students of Amity School of Languages to have thought of and conceived of such a wonderful topic and have conducted it beautifully. Professor Jana, you talked about the opportunities that we as educationists get through the new education policy that gives us a lot of a window of experimentation. It gives us a lot of window to encourage students to broaden their horizons of thought. The emphasis on skills, and basically directly or indirectly, we are all working towards a very, very, all the major dimensions, whether it is gender, whether it is environment, whether it is water, whether it is any of the sustainable development goals that has become the mandate from UN to the world at large, irrespective of whichever domain or whichever discipline an individual comes from. And we as educationists play a very, very important role in carrying forward and implementing this mandate, which is an urgent burning requirement of the world at large. This Amity University Chhattisgarh is a wonderful platform where almost every day, every discipline, we are coming up with initiatives where we can discuss, we can debate, and come up with newer thoughts and experiment with new ideas so that we are able to address the various issues in all the domains, whether it is biotechnology, whether it is management, whether it is engineering, and whether it is behavioral science or language or communication, be it the domain. And at Amity University is a place of vibrancy where we are always indulging into thought-provoking discussions. Thank you. I would like to thank our entire management, right from our founder president to our vice chancellor and pro vice chancellor, who have always been encouraging and have always, they have always set standards which are higher than the previous one, so that we are able to reach higher and higher standards of accomplishment. We, all of us at Amity University, are really delighted, happy. And I would, on behalf of the entire Amity fraternity, I would like to thank all our speakers who have shared such wonderful thoughts. Thank you so much. And we hope that in future also we'll be having many such sessions where we can all adopt a cross-disciplinary approach towards discussing problems, again, as proposed by Professor Jana and as mandated by the new education policy, where our approach needs to be across all disciplines. Thank you, Professor Jana, for reminding us of this important aspect, and we really hope that we will be able to, we will surely work on these areas. Thank you so much. Thank you, the organizers, for giving me an opportunity to share my happiness for organizing such a wonderful international conference. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your insightful words. Finally, as we come to the end of this remarkable conference, we invite the co-convener, Dr. Arijit Mandal, Assistant Professor, Amity School of Languages, Amity University, Chhattisgarh, to deliver the vote of thanks. Let's welcome him warmly.
A very good afternoon to all of you present here. On behalf of Amity School of Languages, Amity University, Chhattisgarh, I express my sincere thanks to our Honorable Founder President, Dr. Ashok K. Chauhan sir, Honorable Chairman, Dr. Ashim Chauhan sir, and Honorable Chancellor, Dr. W. Selvamuthi sir. I extend my sincere thanks to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Piyush Kant Pandey sir, Honorable Pro Vice Chancellor, Professor Shaurabh Chaturvedi sir, respected Deputy Pro Vice Chancellor, Professor Shumita Dave ma'am, and respected Registrar Dr. Suresh Dhyani sir for their constant support in making the event possible. A special thanks to Professor Ujjwal Jana sir, our esteemed guest of honor, for gracing this occasion with his insightful words. His presence has truly enriched this conference. I also extend my sincere thankfulness to Dr. Shubhankar Roy, the convener of this conference, for his leadership in making this event a fruitful one. I thank Dr. Moimunir Islam, the co-convener of the event, for his dedication to conduct the event. I would like to extend my sincere thanks to my beloved colleagues, Dr. Suparna Karkun, Dr. Potush Ranjan Padi, Dr. Bishwajit Sarkar, Dr. Devajyoti Das, Ms. Mini Priya, Mr. Shimanto De, Ms. Sujata Bhandari for their constant support to organize the event. I also thank all our distinguished resource persons and session chairs for sharing their knowledge and engaging us in thought-provoking discussion. I extend my gratitude to all our paper presenters and participants, both offline and online, for sharing their insightful research works with us. I thank all the directors, deans, HOIs, faculty members, and our entire Amity fraternity for becoming an integral part of this event. I also thank Sanjay Kumar Patel sir and the team for their constant support. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to the IT team for their dedicated technical assistance. I sincerely thank the account section, the admin, and the entire team for their constant support. A special thanks to Ms. Disha Mandal and Ms. Salma Sheikh for their commendable role as moderators of the event. I thank all the research scholars, organizing team members, and students who worked tirelessly behind the scenes to ensure everything ran smoothly. Thank you once again, and we look forward to organizing another such events in the future. Thank you all for making this event a memorable one, and have a nice evening.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir, for your acknowledging and contribution of everyone. Sorry. Thank you, sir, for acknowledging the contribution of everyone who made this conference a grand success. With that, we formally conclude our valedictory session. Thank you all for your participation, and we look forward to meeting again at our future academic engagements. Wishing everyone a wonderful evening ahead. Thank you. We would like to invite you for a high tea and then refreshments. Thank you so much.